as an artist, it's just from within. You can feel it from within. That's what you want to do, and that's what you enjoy doing because of the feeling that you get from it.
Welcome back to another episode of the Captain 501 broadcast. Thank you guys so much for being here. And it's another guest episode, so of course we're being joined by another incredibly talented Belizean guest. This award-winning dancer and dance instructor is a proud member and director of the Belize National Dance Company. She's traveled the world representing Belize and Belizean culture through the arts. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome none other than Miss Althea Sealey.
Thank you, and thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. I do appreciate it. So, Miss Althea, I want to ask, could you please take us to the beginning? Where did you find your start in dance?
All right, let me see if I could set that in a nutshell because it's almost over 50 odd years of it. But my first presentation, and I had no idea that I would have been who I am now. But it was at primary school, I think in infant two. We did a monologue, which I had no idea what it was, but it's like singing and movements. And then as I went along, I have a friend that was at primary school with me likewise, and she invited me to dance class. I had no idea what it was, but she asked me if I wanted to come, and I said sure. So I asked my mother, and she said, okay, you can go. And that was at St. Mary's Hall. The first day I got there, the first day I got inspired. And it was so easy for me to even be a part without even registering. Mr. Bob Renault was a person where you go and peep. He doesn't even ask questions that like, who are you, what's your name? But if you're willing, you can come in, right? And there where I first started my dance at the age of 8.
Nice, nice. And now you're a proud member, as I said, of the BNDC. How did you and the BNDC come to be?
Okay, before the BNDC, there were many others. There were many, so we just didn't start at BNDC. We transfer from, like myself, I should say, right? I transfer from Babrino to Leomar, from Leomar to Creative Dancers. From Creative Dancers, we had a national dance company already. And then in 1990, we had a professor from Cuba, Professor Eduardo Rovero, and he came to give us real training for like a 6 months training, and where he taught us techniques, discipline, and whatever form in the modern, contemporary modern style. And at that time, I was already dancing for so many years, and I was afraid because he selected me to do a solo, and he came the day and he said, it's you I'm looking for. You're the person I had in my mind from the time I left Cuba. Then I got frightened because I said, he comes from Cuba. They are so professional. I mean, I hope I can come up to the standard that he is expecting. And he worked with me night and day. Even when the regular classes were finished, I had to do extra classes, do theory and practical with him. And then he started his choreography, and my first solo from him was Weeping Willow.
Nice, nice. So when did you transition over to dance instructor?
I had always been a dancer and a dance instructor and a choreographer. That has happened from in the 80s. Why the last adult group that we had performed with was Creative Dancers, and most of the dancers, they were excellent dancers. I mean, whenever we have shows, these shows are extremely crowded because it's a young generation came up from after Babrino and Leomar. So there where I was still just participating while I had other senior dancers. If I count names, I might be in trouble, but just for you to recognize the people that were there is like Rebecca McPherson, Ilona Smith, Marjorie Lewis, Alice Lewis, if I said Ilona already, Ilona Smith. It's a whole lot of people, younger people that had come together, and they happened to migrate and left in the 80s. I don't know if you knew about that big migration that happened in the 80s. So then I was forced to get into creating because they left. I have nobody to dance with. All I have are younger people. So I decided to do something along with Don Campbell. Don was with me when I started. Sean McCoy was with me when I started. And that was a good team because, you know that you have others that can help you carry it on. And then after that, that's when the Cubans came in after all that. After we had probably done 10, 15 years of what being the National Dance Company. Then after that, we became the Belize National Dance Company.
Nice, nice. It's always been my dream to join. I don't know. It's just
Yeah, we
it
were
never.
hoping that's what would have happened.
It just never. I don't know. I think it's just my time management. I had poor time management. So, but I've been a fan for years, and what I've always been drawn to is how you guys always manage to blend or showcase culture through the arts. How important is it to make sure that Belize is highlighted and represented on the stage?
I grew up doing cultural movement from Mr. Bob. That is my first style of dance, and we evolved from there because he did singing and dancing. So whoever came from Mr. Bob knew how to sing and dance folk songs, and that has helped me to share with the present and the past members of the company whatever I had learned from my childhood days. And then I just kind of add a little blend to it, which is a faster pace, so that it could be much more enjoyable. Mine back in the days, it was enjoyable and it was entertaining for that era. But I believe that if you get something, if you get a gift from somebody, you have to increase it. And I figured that it was time for me to put in my flavor. So, we're hoping that the other generation after me can add another flavor to it, but don't kill the first and the second. Just, so basically, yes, that's how the folk dances. And Mr. Bob had also did Mayan choreographed pieces. I could remember being probably the age of 12, and there was a choreography on the Mayan ruin. I think it was Alton Hall, where we literally did a sacrificial dance, Mr. Bob choreographed. So as a child, I remember all that. And then when it was our turn and my turn to be a choreographer, I remember those moments, and I just kind of share with the people that I had helping me, tell them the stories, and we all come together and we end up having Mayan as part of our choreographies. And likewise the Garifuna. Yeah. So we try every style of dance for us to be versatile.
Yes, like you said, versatility, because I think that some people may have the misconception that since it's the Belize National Dance Company, all you guys do is like the folk dance or the Creole or, yeah.
You see, we were forced, the dance company was forced to be versatile because I realized that our audience, being Belizeans, it's like they like things that are mixed up. So if they just go to watch one set, they kind of complain. I want to see something, hype. I want to see something, and then we have to cater to the other audience that would prefer to see a modern, or a little jazz or something different. So they always keep us on the go in trying to present whatever whatever would satisfy the audience.
Right. Yeah. And of course, the BNDC represents Belize not only around Belize, but also around the world too, because just recently in August of 2024, you guys had the chance to participate in a dance festival in Poland.
Yes,
yeah.
We were invited.
What was that experience like?
Oh, that was beautiful and different. It was. I mean, the beautiful side of it is like the other festivals are a long period of time, and it's kind of take a length of time to adapt. So it creates a little animosity now and then. But when it's just a short period of time, it becomes very enjoyable because we know that within 2 weeks we're going home. While with the other festival, you know that it's like a 2 months or something like that. So Poland was a very good experience. It was, as I say, different because the other festivals we didn't really had to pay pay the full amount to get there. But most of the festivals are changing now where they want you to buy your ticket, prepare everything from home here, but when we get there, they take care of us. So, and that's a task on a whole. So, making those quick trips, it really asks for a lot, in preparation, teaching the younger folks the dances that we'll take out there. And, they were well represented. The Poland people had we always are different from the rest of countries that attend. I mean, that Africa is there, but we do completely different from them. So it's and as I say, our faces tells our culture because everybody else, like from Africa, you see one set face, China one face, everybody. But with Belizeans, they always amazed because I would have an Indian person with me, I would have a Spanish person, I would have a Garifuna, a Creole. So when they see us, they get amazed. They're like, "All of y'all are from Belize?" I said, "Yes."
Nice, nice.
Yeah.
And then now going back home, you guys also do local performances all across Belize, ranging from like the Lobster Fest performances to the home stage performances right there at the Bliss Center. What does the creative process look like for you when you're coming up with a new choreography or a new dance?
What I try to do is to keep old and new because it might look old, but the dancers that are dancing it have never danced it before. And I find it kind of selfish for us not to give them that experience to enjoy what we and the others had enjoyed. So we always try to keep some old dances. When we're making new choreography, especially for folk dance, it's kind of limited sometimes. So we try to add some contemporary modern into it. So it could be a little bit different from the traditional style. I always like to tell the audience and say, why every time I want to dance on a basket? Why every time I want to dance on a this? But they don't understand. It's just like you go to Taiwan, they dance with a fan. You go to Mexico, they dance with the tray and the cups on their head. So why can't we keep our baskets? It's part of our culture, So they just need to accept us, and it's the younger generation because the older folks always enjoy. Yes, they always enjoy. So anyway you put it, whatever we do, we have to, especially when choreographing a folk dance, we have to add some little storyline to it. So like for instance, we have one that we do with the stool dance. We did that in Mr. Bob days, but it's a little bit different. He had another story in mind, and I had another story in mind when I did it, but I kept the stool, So it's little things like that that I try to, so that that doesn't get lost, right? So basically, that's how we work out when we're trying to. But when it comes to the modern and the contemporary style, like the Cuban technique and what's not, it's easier to choreograph. And I find myself, because of so many years with the folk, I find myself, since I was introduced to the modern from Professor Eduardo Rivera, that I am more of a modern dancer in my older time than a folk dancer. Because by the time we start traveling, I was already at a certain age where I figured that it's the younger generation need it, not me. So then, I just do the leadership and make sure that whatever needs to be done the proper way done the proper.
How many dancers does the BNDC currently have?
Currently we have 14, and I like a small number all the time because it is easy for us to travel. When it's bigger than that, it's a little, more problem. Um, the plan that we have for the future is that we want to keep the the dance company like a university because it's older dancers. I don't have any more young dancers because there is so many young company coming up, and we hope that when they reach a mature age and mature in every, that they will be ready to come and join us, and then go on from there. Now well, we do have workshops, but we would have like audition. We plan days of when to do audition, and that's what we plan to do this year, because the kids are getting old. Like I have a few kids that belongs to other company. Miss Althea, when are you going to let us start? When? But because we don't have enough time. Our time span has changed. Before we had so many days to work with because I had other helpers helping me with the company when it comes to the younger kids, and then I just stay with the older crowd. But I don't like to mix the children with the adults. So I prefer them to reach at least an adult age, probably 16, 17, 18, so that when they blend, it is okay.
Season 2 of the Captain 501 broadcast is brought to you by the National Institute of Culture and History, NICH. NICH is Belize's premier cultural institution dedicated to empowering contemporary and traditional creatives, nurturing their talents, and recognizing their roles as catalysts for change in our communities, safeguarding both our tangible and intangible heritage. The NICH vision to create a Belize that embraces and promotes our cultures, our values, our identity, our prosperity in our global community is brought to life through a diverse array of programs and initiatives. You can learn more about the resources provided by NICH by visiting the Museum of Belize or the Museum of Belizean Art located in Belize City, the various houses of cultures located countrywide, as well as visiting nichbelize.org or other websites and tools such as the 501 Academy and Access 501. So going back to fundraising, I know that sometimes for these projects, because people might not realize how much goes into the dance, they only see the final product, but they don't realize that there's the choreography, but also the costumes. There's the sometimes you have drummers on the stage. How can the audience or Belizeans or anyone watching, how can they contribute to the dance company and help?
Well, we always believe in we give and that's how we receive. So you find that if we're having a show, and especially if we're providing new choreographies, new costumes are needed, and it's very expensive now. This time it's, first we thought it was expensive, but now it's even worse. We If we're having our annual show, we try to reach out to business places to assist us, and I must say our biggest sponsor is Simon Kwan. They always support us in whatever. So that's one of the reasons why sometimes we try to keep a certain standard so that they can see the good in what they're giving to, rather than giving and not seeing anything productive. So that's what we will do. We'll go around and ask why, because the ticket sales, it's hard for we to take it at a certain level where we can get back funds. That's why we ask for sponsorship, because we try to keep the tickets at a reasonable price. Just in case we don't make back what we spend, at least we know the sponsors had already provided for us to keep the tickets at a suitable price for everybody to come and enjoy the show. So basically that's how we try to work it out.
Speaking of tickets, do we have any upcoming shows that we can look forward to?
Yes, we have to have an annual show, and that's normally in May, June. It takes a little time to prepare, but we always know that there have to be a show for whatever year, because we call it our annual show. So we will keep our same month. It's hard for us to have shows in between because of we have dancers that are teachers, workers, so they can only give the time that they have. And that's why we're looking forward for that other little generation to come in and then join in with them, so we know. And likewise too, you have where sometimes they would want us to dance in the mornings, 10 o'clock, whoever do a booking with us, and it's hard because they're working. So we're looking for dancers that really want to do dancing as part of their life, but it's kind of hard. It's not promising to them. Like parents would say, they make no money from that. And to be honest to you, it's hard to like really do it. But that's what we don't have, and that's what we need. you know.
So if there are any dancers right now who are watching and maybe want to join, how can they reach out?
Okay, we have a Facebook page. They can reach us through the Facebook page and send their messages, and then what we do, we correspond with them one by one, and after we have a certain amount, then we choose a day, and then we respond back to them and tell them, well, starting of song, so this day, you all can come for an audition. And what's good about it right now, we have Jalen Craig from MDM. They are dancers that pass through, have already passed through what we were trying out. They have already passed through from. They stay with Jay, but they pass through to be a member of the dance company likewise. So they belongs to both, and that helps us a lot because it makes the company a little bit bigger.
And then you
Yes.
have that upcoming generation as well.
Right. Yes, exactly. So that's what we're trying to do, like have a younger generation, and the older one. The company is always like that because that's when Sade's time, before Sade, at least while Sade time, I was still dancing. The older members were still dancing, and they were the upcoming promising dancers.
Something that I like to ask my guests, what is your end goal through the arts?
It's something that comes from within and so natural until I don't even I'm not even aware of how, because it happens so natural. It is something that just, as an artist, it's just from within. You can feel it from within. That's what you want to do, and that's what you enjoy doing because of the feeling that you get from it. It helps you emotionally, physically. It does all of that for us. So you're just attached to it. I mean, for me to be in it so long, I still can't understand how I'm still there. you know
Dance till I can't no more.
well, yeah. So what I do now, I don't do hype dances. I won't say because of my age, but I don't do hype dances because, as we say, we get older and probably the bones are not the same. And I would prefer to still be at classes with my regular body rather than with a stick or a cane. You understand?
Yeah.
But I had the opportunity to do my current choreography for the church, and that's what I like now. I don't mind doing liturgical dances because it's much more calmer on the body and it's much more inspiration, and I feel like I'm giving back whatever blessings or whatever talent God gave. I'm sharing it, so that's what I enjoy right now.
Nice, nice. And lastly, what advice would you give to the new generation of dancers?
All form of dance has its own discipline, and yes, it all comes from within. You find that I don't see a lot of professionalism working right now. I don't see a certain discipline that I would like to see. Right now I'm seeing a lot of freestyle, but freestyle goes for different type of dancing. You have dance where there's strict discipline, like classical is a strict discipline. They maybe now they might twist and you don't only freestyle with your classical, but if you're in classes, that's a full discipline. And the discipline, when I say discipline, I don't mean discipline like your bad behavior. There are certain rules and regulations that a dancer has to follow. I'm not seeing that anymore, you know. And it's okay in one way because you find not every children that are at a dance school are there because they want. You find that they're there because either their parents want them to be dancers, or it's a babysitting our time, so let them, you call it what, just sociable or just, recreational time or whatever. Yes, so I think that when we get too serious with it, the younger generation reverse. So sometimes you find that you have to, break down a little to encourage them to get in, like a trick has to happen, and then afterwards they get the full blown, like this is it. um I could remember I mentioned something to somebody one day concerning discipline, and the person misunderstood me. That like, so you want to got more discipline than that next God got discipline? I say I'm not speaking about that one. I'm speaking about if you're in classical, you have a stricter discipline. If you're in modern, the modern is likewise. Discipline is there, but there's a little freestyle in the modern likewise. And for the folk dance, even though we that comes from within, like what is guys stuff on the hip hop, that comes from within because that's when we show what we were born with. You know, we were born for our bodies to move. So to me, I think dancing folk is the first thing that we all, naturally does.
Yeah, I mean, well said, well said. Yeah, and a great ending to the to the episode, guys. That brings us to the end of our episode for this week. A special thank you to Miss Althea Sealey for making her way on the podcast, and a special thank you to you guys for watching as well. If you guys want more episodes, check us out, the Captain 501 broadcast on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. Be sure to keep up with the Belize National Dance Company to see where it is that they're performing next, and to keep up to know when the annual show is coming. And with that, we will see you in the next episode.